I am so excited to have an opportunity to talk to Gary Carter Green today. I was a little bit nervous because you sort of feel like a bit of a celebrity to me because you sort of are. But we'll see how well I do. So why don't we just get started a little bit telling folks exactly what you are? Because if you ask me, I'll say he's an award-winning producer. And here you are sitting here today in politics. So tell us a little bit about how all that got started and how power and confidence and caring rolls into that.
Oh, thanks, Fennell. I'm first of all, I just want to say I'm so thrilled to be here with all of these wonderful proactive women and happy to be representing the Y chromosome for y'all today. I have been activated since the 2016 presidential election, as so many of us were. But, I was not politically active before then, and I didn't really know what to do. So I sat down one day, I said, well, what are my skills? What are my talents? I can produce content. I can produce television. I can host. I've been doing that. And so that's where I started. And You Can't Be Blue is developing into a phenomenon. It is a website, youcan'tbeblue.com. It is a Facebook group. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Reddit. We're on TikTok. And we have a channel on YouTube, hundreds of videos. It is all original content, and it's pointed towards making politics understandable, non-threatening, and fun. They don't have fun in Washington, D.C. Well, Madison Cawthorn might be having fun in Washington, D.C. from what I hear, but the rest of them I don't think have that much of a good time. They all look miserable. We interview midterm candidates. We interview people who are in office right now, elected officials, campaign managers, activists, just like what you guys do, educators, newsmakers, and it's all about helping everybody out there develop their civic muscles with the understanding that we all have little pieces that we get about politics, and we all have our fortes, if you will. But none of us know everything, and that's no reason to be intimidated or to feel like we don't have a voice or that we shouldn't speak up. It's when you speak up, it's when you use your voice that you find all these other people who can fill in the gaps that you don't have. And that's what the group You Can't Beat Blue has done on Facebook. It's been phenomenal just watching all of these people across the country and around the world just helping each other, providing people information and pointing them to places where they can learn how the government works, how these bills become laws, what Joe Biden is responsible for and what he's not responsible for. And when we can direct our focus to the proper areas, we can get so much more done. And the midterms are coming up and it's going to be tough, but it's things like the Friday Power Lunch and You Can't Be Blue that are going to make it real easy for people to spread the word. And I think we're going to have a really good November.
This is really important. So before it was You Can't Beat Blue, it was You Can't Beat Pete. So talk a little bit about how that got you inspired on this journey.
Hey, listen, I heard out of the corner of my ear one day that there's this mayor in Indiana and he's a gay man and he's running for president. And I thought what a lot of people did. This guy's just trying to get a little spotlight for himself, just like so many people do. You have all these sort of C-list celebrities running for president, usually a Kardashian every few years throws their hat into the ring. And I happened to catch him in a 1 hour. This is a 1 hour format where he was talking about his book with Jonathan Allen at Politics and Prose, this very wonderful bookshop in Washington, D.C. You can't fool people for an hour. That guy sat there and answered question after question after question and was phenomenal. And I'm like, this is the guy I want to get behind. He's making politics accessible and understandable. He's relatable. He's using his own personal experiences, and it didn't hurt that he's done so much. So I became a Pete disciple and started the website originally, You Can't Beat Pete. And that actually, it's still up, youcan'tbeatpete.com. And it chronicles my whole evolution from standing out on a street corner outside the farmer's market in Portland, terrified of talking to people. We had a big Pete cardboard cutout next to us. Then I started doing phone banking, and then I started raising money, and then I started going to rallies and functions, and all of a sudden I was good at it. I don't know when that happened, but I think a lot of it had to do with, and there's a lot of people in the room, Mary Rarick is one of them, who helped me along. Those are the other people that I found in the Pete universe. Then Pete decided to bow out of the race and support Joe Biden, and I thought, okay, well, I don't want to let this movement, You Can't Beat Pete, go. Number one, because Pete's going to be back. We all know he's going to be back. And I'm ready for him. So I pivoted to what I thought was most important, which was midterms, because I feel that we sometimes drop the ball when it comes to midterms. We don't think that they're as important as the presidential elections. We don't give them the focus, the attention. We don't give those candidates the money that they need to fight and to win. we need Democrats to win in these midterms more than ever before. So I'm just spreading the word that midterms start now, no matter what year it is, no matter what time it is. Always be thinking about the midterms. Never let those candidates go by, especially this time around. We have got people motivated to run that are fantastic because they have seen what happened with this Trump insurrection and the 4 years that Trump was president. And people, private citizens who never would have run before because they are afraid of getting torn apart and everything, the bad side of politics, you know, the rancid side of politics, but they're doing it because they understand that democracy is vulnerable. And we've interviewed so many of these candidates and they all need help. They all need financial support. They all need word of mouth. And you can come to You Can't Beat Blue. It's almost like a dating service. You can find any candidate that speaks what you think is important all across the country, send them some money, get them into office. We interviewed Fennell when you were running and Caitlin Coakley in Virginia and Jennifer Kitchen. And you guys are everywhere. And it's time that we really put the focus on you and get you guys elected and get you into office and help save this republic.
Well, that's what I love so much about You Can't Beat Blue. And that is you guys reach out to help anyone and everyone who is fighting for democracy, who's fighting to participate. And that's awesome. I think that we should take a look at You Can't Beat Blue and see what it looks like. So, Robin, show us.
That's a great question, Gary.
That is a fantastic question.
You know, what's funny is no one's ever asked me that question before.
Honestly, this has taken me by surprise.
He asks the questions you want answered.
Why is this so hard, and what do we have to do to find common ground to get things done?
And some you weren't expecting.
Can you milk both sexes of a goat?
He's Gary Carter Green.
You know how to run a race because you've done it. You know how to win a race because you've done it.
Delivering your 2022 Democrats.
A+ on the research, Gary.
It just goes to show your brilliance.
I didn't say that. You said that.
At youcan'tbeatblue.com.
I think that's awesome. It's really awesome. I'm going to say two things. First of all, so that one is really great. But I want you to know that I did watch the one that you did with Pete Buttigieg, at this most recent one. And I want to tell you that I just almost cried because it's just so powerful to see the passion that people had about Pete. And it's still there. So I think that's pretty amazing. But really, how does game shows and politics fuse together?
Oh, you know, I'll tell you what, from my years, I worked on a show called Let's Make a Deal where Wayne Brady was hosting it. And I would be on the stage with him off camera as he would pick the people out of the audience. And, you know, Wayne is an improv guy and he just finds a couple details out about that person and can suddenly just run with it and make that nervous contestant feel so comfortable, so in their skin in this moment where normally, you know, you see these people on camera, they're terrified, they're jittery, they can't speak for themselves. And I took a valuable lesson from that, which is, you know, when I stood on that street corner to talk to people about Pete Buttigieg, I didn't just go to them and say, hey, I like this candidate. Let me tell you about him. I said, hey, you bought parsley. You bought kale. What are you going to do with that when you get home? I like to cook. Do you have any good recipes? And just start chatting with them and let them feel non-threatened by this strange guy in the park who's coming up and talking to them. And then, you know, I was standing next to Cardboard Pete. They knew I was going to get to it, but they were ready to listen because I had given them a little bit of myself. I had shared a little bit of myself and I inquired about them. It wasn't just this hard sell. And I think that when you make people feel comfortable, they're willing to listen. Now, I'm not saying I convinced everybody that day to vote for Pete Buttigieg, but they knew a lot more about Pete Buttigieg when they walked away from me than they did before. And as far as I was concerned at the time, that was my mission, was to just get that name out and to let these people know this really good guy that they met at the farmer's market loves Pete. So maybe I should look into him. And maybe, you know, maybe they didn't support him in the 2020, but maybe they will in 2024 or well, I should say 2028, whenever he runs again. That seed has been planted. And I think that, you know, I just want to say to anybody who's nervous about talking to people about a politician, about politics, I think that they get so wound up in, we got to get this person on the Elizabeth Warren bandwagon. We got to get them interested in Kamala, you know. No, you just talk from your own experience and what matters to you, and you pass that along. And as you get more comfortable, you get a little bit better at it. You might be able to get more information across in a shorter amount of time. But it's really just about expressing and sharing a little bit of yourself. You don't have to have them walking away with a Pete t-shirt on all of a sudden. You just got to spread the word. Let those people know it's okay to talk about who you love in politics.
I think that's fantastic. And I think that that's the lesson that we're all learning about canvassing, phone banking, postcards is this: talk to the people that you want to talk to about you, share your story. And that's what gets people. But you know what else is really great is that I think that cardboard board thing is probably a really good idea. I'm going to think about that. I think that's good. But I want you to know that you make everybody look good. So when I was talking to Mary, when I talk to her now, I'm really pretty nervous and I'm not very smooth. But by the time you get finished with me, I look pretty good. So, Robin, can we show how Gary makes me look when I have a conversation with Mary, who's pretty awesome too? I'm proud of the moment. I'm sad about the moment, but I believe that she has demonstrated why she should be on that bench.
She was prepared for this because of her life experiences in a way that I can't even begin to understand.
Don't despair, because when she got asked the question, the one thing that's most important, it was persevere. See that? See how good I looked? You did that.
Can I just say, Mary Rarick is another producer at You Can't Be Blue, and she does a lot of the interviews. So she does tremendous work. In this case, my participation was taking the footage and editing it and doing the graphics and adding the music and all of that. But I have to say, I always love when she interviews you, Fennell, because I get this raw footage, 20, 25 minutes of conversation, and I just love it. And when you said, don't despair, that just gets to me, because I do despair. I do. We all do despair. And we need that other person to say don't. And that's why groups like the Power Lunch and You Can't Be Blue, when you're down, somebody else is up. And they can just say that one sentence to you that's going to make all the difference and keep you going and keep you reminded of the priorities and what's really important. So thank you so much. I think you're just wonderful.